Welcome to the July 6, 2011 hearing of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We begin with case number 1929. Thomas P. and Elizabeth T. Sorbo have applied for a special permit as set forth in MGL Chapter 48, Section 9 under Orleans Zoning Bylaw, Section 164-21A, Note 5, to construct a dwelling resulting in excess of 4,000 square feet of building coverage. Property is located at 2 Highview Lane, Orleans, map number 37, parcel number 27. Attending on behalf of the board are the regular members, William Pearsall, Ralph Soderstrom, Beth McCartney, Matthew Cole, and me. Associate members Greg Delory and Michael Marnick. The board secretary, Sandy Stewart, and also in attendance is the building commissioner, Brian Harrison. Does anyone have a possible conflict with this application? Anyone have any contact with interested parties in connection with this application? Voting on the application will be the regular members in attendance, and we'll hear from Mr. Landreth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And before you get too far down the road, I'd like to raise the issue as to whether or not under these plans there isn't a new dimensional nonconformity being constructed or being created, which would therefore put this into a requirement for a variance rather than just a special permit. And what I'm looking at, the original house was attached to the studio garage by a deck. And the deck is now being removed so that the studio garage becomes a freestanding detached structure. And because it does have a studio in it, it's made for human habitation, and it doesn't separate from the house by the required 50 feet. And so if that's the case, and my understanding is correct, then it falls within the provision that requires a variance when you create a new dimensional nonconformity.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my name is Dwayne Landreth. Good evening, members of the board. With me this evening is Mr. Sorbo on the right and Mr. Collins, who's the architect with regard to the main house. The chairman is correct in that this is basically an application to maintain an existing structure upon the property that exists on the property at this point in time. Anticipating that this question might come up, I took a look at the record because I wanted to see what exactly had gone on in the past. And this corrects what had been filed with the application in that I relied upon the town's assessing records when I indicated that the structure had been built in 1975. First, with regard to the proposed existing studio, my understanding is the second story of the garage storage space is essentially undeveloped. It will remain undeveloped. There's no water to it. It will never be utilized for human habitation. It's an accessory structure, was, and always was an accessory structure. The question is, how did it ever get to be 17.5 feet, in my mind, from the sideline setback? So I endeavored to look into that. In 1978, there was a building permit issued for this property. It was proposed to build a house, which Joe Hertig Jr. was the original developer, and he showed a full cape with an L on either side of the property. The original plan that was given to the building inspector in 1978 showed that the garage, then garage, was on the right-hand side of the house. However, that wasn't the way that it was built. It was built exactly opposite it was built as a mirror image of the plan. Notwithstanding, a certificate of occupancy was issued on 6/6/79. Immediately thereafter, there was an application for a building permit to put a deck on the back of the existing house. That deck got a permit applied for on 6/8/79 and was subsequently built. Later, and this is ahead a decade, in 1986, a new owner hired a man by the name of Carl Goodrick as a builder. And this is the source of the problem. What Goodrick did was he built a sunroom on the right-hand side of the house to the east, which need not concern us. He converted that existing garage space on the other side of the house into livable space. He extended the deck in the back of the house to a new garage, which he constructed back there. And there were two building plans in the file. First of all, the elevations showed that it was to be 18 feet tall at that point. There were two sets of plans. One set of plan had it attached to the deck as it was configured, built, with the deck coming out to extend it. And that plan and its site plan associated with it proposed that it would be 26 feet from the sideline setback, okay? There was a second plan which showed the garage as a freestanding structure, which had it 18 feet from the sideline setback. So what happened is the builder took the worst of both worlds. He built it attached. He built it, I think, intending to have it be 18 feet away, and it turned out to be 17 and a half feet. And he used a different height requirement than we do now. Now we measure the height based upon the average grade around all four sides. At that point, it was the average grade from the front side, and Brian can check me out on this. But in any event, I had Coastal go out and check out the height of that structure, hoping that it was 17 and a half feet, and we wouldn't be having this discussion. But alas, it's 19 feet. Now, what does that mean? Well, I would submit to you that the structure was built at least by 1979, and that it's protected by the statute of repose under Chapter 48, Section 7, which basically says if you have a structure that's built, and this is the one that says without a building permit, that structure, if no enforcement action is brought within 10 years after the violation commences, no action can lie to remove the structure. Now, what's being done here, I would submit to you, in the sense of taking away the deck, is to make it more conforming, if not conforming, because it's essentially, instead of supposed to be 25 feet from the sideline setback, which is the way it should have been built at the outset because it was part of the structure, it is now supposed to be 19 feet from the sideline setback, and they're 17 and a half feet. And in the field, and when you look at the pictures of it, you'll see that really there's a de minimis effect in terms of any violation of the sideline setback with regard to this. The distances are rather short. And because of that structure, it appears that sometime during the history of this habitation of the property by the two adjoining properties, a large hedge was built between the two structures. So we're basically seeking a special permit to maintain the existing structure because it has economic value. We're not seeking to move it or taking things away, but we're not touching it other than normal rehabilitation and refurbishment. No water to it, so it's an accessory structure that was built too close to the lot line. It's still going to be too close to the lot line. We're not seeking to in any way leapfrog that nonconformity because it's not a pre-existing nonconformity. It's legal by reason of the fact that it has the benefit of the statute of repose.
Does the statute of repose actually govern 164.3?
Yes, it's as a state statute. When you say 164.3,
yeah,
mean the
164.3
modifications?
deals with when you can reconstruct a non-conforming structure. And 164.3 is not taking down the structure. It is simply saying if you want to rebuild, you've got to comply with 164.3. And that requires, as a threshold condition, a legally pre-existing, non-conforming structure.
Mr. Chairman, in the supplemental filing, you inquired about the status of the lot. And the supplemental filing indicated that this is a fully conforming lot.
It's a non-conforming lot.
No, it's not a non-conforming lot.
Why is it,
Because it's protected in perpetuity under the two savings clauses of the Orleans bylaw.
sure, but that, it's protected as a non-conforming lot. It doesn't have the 40,000 square feet.
It's, well, however you characterize it, it's a protection under the bylaw that essentially has happened in this town, unlike many other towns, where as they ratcheted up the area of the lot and making frontage greater and lot areas greater, they protected the people who had subdivided earlier than that. And
Sure.
we've had several, in fact, we had one at the most recent town meeting where, or perhaps it was a town meeting before, but we essentially protected those lots that were in Nauset Farms, for example, that had, because there was an appeal, the lots didn't exist as final lots prior to the magic date, and they were swept into conformity. So there really is no pre-existing nonconformity that we're seeking to leapfrog here. What we're saying is, we have a right to build the proposed new structure. Okay? We have a right.
Well, let me ask the question now. If you were to try to build that structure now, if it just simply was a vacant lot with an under square footage to it, would you be able to build on it?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
what is the authority for that?
For being able to build on this lot?
For being able to build on an undersized lot?
Well, this is really without, and what we're talking about, though, is without the garage remaining. We're just saying, we knock everything down, we go to the building inspector to get a building permit. Is that the question?
The question is, if you have a lot that's 38,000 some odd square feet and not 40,000 square feet, whether it's a buildable lot.
Yes, it's a buildable lot.
You know, the date it was created, been based on
yeah,
164-22.
Okay.
Here's the provision I'm relying upon, and this doesn't frequently come up before this board because, I mean, if it's going to be invoked, it's going to be invoked with the building inspector. But it essentially says, under 2, one single-family dwelling may be erected on any lot regardless of common ownership with that of adjoining land located in the same residential district, which at the time this subsection was adopted, March 9th, 1971, contained at least 15,000 square feet and had a minimum frontage of 100 feet, okay, or 50 feet on a cul-de-sac. And the proposed structure is to be located on such lot so as to conform to the minimum requirements for such structures in effect at the time of the building. Number 3 says, one single-family dwelling may be erected on any lot, regardless of common ownership with adjoining land, which lot existed on August 2nd, 1973, which contained at least 20,000 feet and had a minimum frontage of 120 feet or had 50 feet of arc frontage. And the proposed structure is to be located on such lot so as to conform to minimum requirements of front, side, and rear yard setbacks and to all other requirements for such structure in effect at the time of building. And in fact, number 4 says that those non-conforming lots exempted under A1, A2, and A3 may be increased in size or shape as long as the land area recombined doesn't increase the potential or actual number of lots.
So to fit within that, it has to be a structure that conforms with all of the required setbacks as it
The new
as they
structure,
exist.
the new structure to be built on it does, yes. Yes, that's correct. The new structure does. And this does.
But that doesn't get you into the restructuring of an existing non-conforming structure.
I'm not trying to restructure an existing non-conforming structure. I don't have an pre-existing non-conforming structure in the way the bylaw is defined. That is one which lawfully arose and later became unlawful.
Okay.
Due to the bungling of the people who worked on the ground, okay? This is a structure which is protected by the statute of repose, okay?
The statute of repose doesn't really have anything to do with it.
Yes, it does. It
In-
says
in
that you can't bring any action. Well, put it a different way.
We're not bringing the action, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's right.
The town is not bringing an action to prevent.
There's no reason to bring an action.
Right.
There's no reason to bring an
But now
action.
you're seeking relief, and it seems to me you have to
I'm-
fit
I'm-
in 164.3.
Well, that's your view of it, and I understand that.
I'd like to hear the other view. If
Well-
you say 164.3 is not applicable, you tell me what is applicable and how you fit into the code.
Well, that's what I would have done if I'd had an opportunity to go forward with my presentation in the normal
that's all right.
fashion, where we hear from the applicant first, Mr. Chairman.
Well, all right. If you want to address the application in the way in which you intended, please go ahead.
Let's be clear on this. Here's the situation. If let's say the house that we were proposing to build, because the building coverage on this garage is 583 feet, okay? Here's the thing. We could basically come in and build this of right and leave that structure as it is. You agree, Brian? So what I'm saying is, it's an existing structure. It's an existing structure that doesn't conform. It's not a pre-existing non-conforming structure that we're seeking to leapfrog on and use its existence to do something what we otherwise would not be able to do. Now, you may say, well, I don't think I want to reward a scofflaw because the people went out in the field and they bungled this. They made a mess of it. So why should we bless that? Well, as a rather draconian condition of this, Mr. Chairman, you could say, well, we'll let you do it, but we want you to move that accessory structure 1.5 feet away from the westerly sideline. That's our condition of this. So I'm saying, you have the authority to do this. This isn't where I'm asking to do a pre-existing non-conforming structure, nor am I trying to do anything with a pre-existing non-conforming lot. The lot is a perfectly conforming lot, even though it doesn't meet 40,000 square feet. The 40,000 square feet most often comes up in a prospective subdivision of property. When a developer's looking at whether something can be built or indeed sold, they look to see if the lot is buildable. The Rothman case came up here a while back in the town of Orleans, where, what was that? An 11,000 square foot lot, an 8,000 square foot lot? It was a couple combined lots.
Priscilla?
Yeah. And the SJC said, well, that lot had the benefit of protection because it was subject to a savings clause when it went into single ownership, and therefore you could piggyback the local savings clause that existed then and didn't exist now with the state statute and come up with a buildable lot. So the single-family owner's rights are respected with a property that's, even though you characterize it as undersized, it's an appropriately sized lot for a house. Furthermore, it's 38,800 square feet, and when you shake down the building coverages and the things we look at in cases like this, it's going to be 11.7%. That's with about 800 feet of porch overhang and another 300 feet of outdoor porch. So, you know, some of the bulk that's associated with the house, which I gather is the purpose of looking at this 4,000 square foot trigger, has been mitigated by the way the house is designed. So I think we're in the same church, but probably in the wrong pew. I'm not seeking to exploit any nonconformity. I'm basically taking that deck away, which it's taken away now. The way it came up, and this came up in an unusual context, is that Brian granted the building permit, subject to the fact that this garage had to be the subject of a special permit before this board, and so he was going to provisionally let the building permit go ahead and let the board deal with the issue of this garage structure. The garage has, as I said, has economic value. It's a nice-looking structure. It's not a habitation. It is designed so that it's 22 feet away from the main structure, so it meets the accessory, you know, the detachment from the accessory size. So, but there's nothing we can do about the 17.5 feet, which is as a result of conditions in the field. Also, interestingly enough, there's no indication of that, you know, after that subsidiary, accessory structure was built that a certificate of occupancy was ever applied for and issued. So,
Why don't you finish your presentation and we'll then go forward with other questions.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason that the Sorbos want to maintain or retain this structure, as I say, because it has economic value, but also because they have 4 teenage sons and a beach vehicle. And so as a result, it is a very handy accessory structure for the use of recreational gear. As a procedural matter, and I saw everybody looking at the filings, I know they're confusing. I want to go through to indicate what I gave you so that at least we all know what the record contains. First, there was the filing of the application on June 8th with the usual supporting information, and I supplemented that in a recent filing with 3 additional plans because the 8.5 by 11s were virtually unreadable because of their size. 3 additional plans were Coastal Engineering's C121, which was a plan showing the initial site conditions on the property. There was Coastal's plan C211, which shows the proposed new dwelling if the garage is retained, and also additional site details such as the septic system location and the water lines and so forth. It's a more fully articulated plan. There's also a full set of building permit plans for the new residence prepared by Mr. Collins, and those include, most important for our use, the floor plans and elevations. Finally, to deal with the issue that the chairman raised, I filed a supplemental memorandum which dealt with the undersized nature of the lot, and then also went through the issues of what the coverage would be and so on and so forth. I provided a copy at C of the subdivision plan to verify when the lot became a lot based upon the town clerk's stamping of it in its recordation. Now, I refer you to Exhibit C to the supplemental filing, which is the subdivision plan for Countryside. And it's recorded at Plan Book 228, page 129, at the Barnstable Registry. The town clerk's stamp showed that the plan was final, passed all appeals as of 4/9/69. That's over Jean Duchamp's signature, which is right above the book and page. And the registry stamp shows that it was recorded at the registry on May 5th, 1969. The subject lot is more or less in the middle of the plan. It's lot 21 at the north side of the intersection of Countryside Drive and Highview. The lot is 38,800 square feet in area with total frontage of 271.54 feet, and that's over 2 arc frontages plus a straight line frontage. As indicated in our discussion earlier, and as set forth in the supplemental memorandum, that existence of that lot as of either the date of recording or the date that the town clerk determined it was final were both before the magic 1971 and 73 dates. So the lot is protected as long as that particular provision is on the books. The additional information about the lot, I would refer you to C121, which shows in greater detail what the lot looks like, both with regard to elevations and size and shape. The lot is 224 feet deep to the west, 203 feet deep on its east side, and it's got a back lot size of 80 feet. And it's shaped kind of like a a truncated triangle that's got a curved side instead of a straight side. But at 38,800 square feet, it's quite a large lot. The lot center is largely level, and the terrain slopes sharply to the northeast and the southeast. And the lot is at the bottom of an irregularly shaped bowl, and the surrounding properties all kind of look down on it. Now, with further reference to the existing conditions planned by Coastal, the original house and garage and attached deck are shown. And I've already indicated to you that with the construction history was 1978 and 79. The house was built 1979. The deck was built, and then sometime after 1986, the deck was extended. An extension was put on the east side of the house, and the 24 by 24 structure that is at issue here was constructed with an enlargement of the deck from that structure to meet the then existing deck. Now, as I also indicated, the building coverage with regard to that, the proposed structure to be saved is 583 square feet. And the existing building coverage for the rest of the main house was 2,093 feet. So there's a total of, as of the lot, the way the lot sat before, and as shown on the existing conditions plan, the building coverage was 2,676 feet. That does not include the deck area of 643 feet. So the total building coverage by itself was 6.9%. The garage is a story and a half with a dormer on the north side of the house. It has no utilities. It is storage space. It's intended to retain a storage space. It's not insulated. It's not, there's no way to use it as habitation, and indeed, no incentive to use it as habitation, given the type of structure that this is in the neighborhood and the proposed structure to be built. Now, I wanted to bring in some photos of the site because they're always instructive. On the top row, what we're looking at is a picture of the, everybody see it? We're looking at a picture of the garage which we propose to save. That's taken from the street side, and which would be the south side. Then we walk around counterclockwise the house, so the east side is the second picture, the north side is the third picture. This is the west side, and the reason it's an oblique view of the west side is because that hedge is there, so you can't get a full-on shot of it. This picture here is just simply to illustrate the run-up from the back of the lot to the Orleans Conservation Trust land that is beyond. And if you look at the terrain on the existing conditions, you'll see that that sharply slopes. To get a flavor for the neighborhood and the terrain and the structure itself and how it will fit in, I then went to where the driveway of the structure intersects Countryside Road, and starting from looking to the northwest, I circled counterclockwise until I was looking back down Countryside Road. So that's a full 180 degrees, and as I say, this is the bottom of the hole. Everything is up from it, more steeply up this way and this way. Then the third row is just a picture of it itself as taken from the intersection of Highview Lane and Countryside Drive to see it. And of course, we're looking over the construction site and the piles of dirt there. These two pictures are pictures of houses to the west on Countryside Drive. They give a good flavor of the neighborhood, which is, you know, a beautiful neighborhood. And then down here on the bottom, are pictures taken from up here on this, looking down over the property, just to see, this is the neighboring property, this is the proposed structure. The house would be obscured by this large juniper here. Here's another house, again, there's no neighboring house that I can see that's evident. So that's a pretty good pictorial essay for the neighborhood. You can see the wooded quality of the lot itself and the wooded quality indeed of the subdivision itself, both with regard to the natural vegetation as well as the ornamental vegetation that's been added. Concerning the proposal, I would ask you to look at Coastal Proposed Site Plan C211, which is and the attachment D to the supplemental filing, and also the elevations of the architect at A21 and A22 of the architectural plans. The site plan shows that the new structure will be to the south of it, so that the proposed structure to be retained will be north of the new house. The site plan shows us the garage is to be located 22 feet away from the house at its closest point. It has to be 19 feet based upon its height. The height of the existing garage, as I noted for the record, is 19 feet, as calibrated by Coastal Engineering under current requirements. That requirement for height came into effect, in my recollection, is in 1991, so it wasn't the height requirement as of the date of, it wasn't the height definition as of the date that this building permit was taken out. I did not ask Coastal to do a determination under the old height requirement, but I don't think it's going to get down to 17.5 feet, even under the old height requirement, because of the fact that the elevation is somewhat regular, as you can see. Furthermore, the pre-1991 building height requirement dealt with finished grade, whereas, of course, now ours deals with existing grade. So it's apples and oranges. Without the garage, the building coverage of the new structure is 3,945 feet. So if you retain the garage, you tip it over the 4,000 square foot trigger that requires a special permit. If the garage is retained, the total building coverage would be 4,528 feet, or 11.7% of the total lot area. Of course, 15% is the limit without a variance. As noted, 878 feet of the new structure is covered porches or roof overhangs. The garage is proposed to be reshingled and re-roofed, and the exterior refurbished and repainted as necessary, so at the end of the day, it'll be of equal quality appearance with the new structures. The legal basis for relief are the criteria that the board looks at to determine whether there is any impact upon the neighborhood. It's either its established character or its existing and future character, as well as the town's existing and future character. The first thing that the board is asked to look at is the adequacy of the site in terms of size for the use. I've asked you to evaluate the total use here. The previous house was a 3-bedroom house. This is replaced by a 5-bedroom house, but one of the bedrooms is up above the garage. It's got septic capacity as shown on the Coastal proposed conditions plans to handle 5 bedrooms. That system was put in 2001, and it passed muster with regard to the 5 bedrooms that the building permit was pulled for it. The building coverage is 11.7%, which is far from excessive. The lot at 38.8 thousand feet is 97% of a 40,000 square foot lot. So the suitability of the house for the lot, or the lot for this use, it's a single-family use in a residential zone. Specifically, we're asking to retain an accessory structure as storage for recreational purposes. Then equipment storage is an appropriate accessory structure to a single-family residence. The house, that structure, as you can see from the picture, and certainly the architect, Mr. Collins, can address it, but the structure has value. It still has a useful life. As to impact on traffic flow and safety, they are virtually nil because of the nature of the house, the use of the house, its location, and it's certainly, if you look at the subdivision, it's well-served by well-maintained ways. The impact on neighborhood visual characters, including views and vistas. As the photographs attest, the retention of the garage will not block any views. The old structure has attractive lines, and its materials are consistent with the new house. As to exterior materials, the window and door treatment and the trim. Adequacy of sewage disposal, water and drainage. It has town water. The sewage disposal system is currently complying. Drainage requirements will be met, if not exceeded, based upon the location of this lot. The garage has no bathrooms, no running water, no insulation, so its impact on sewage disposal or water use or drainage is non-existent. There are public utilities and services that are adequate to this use at the site. There will be no impact on noise and litter. The impact on groundwater recharge volume and water quality is virtually non-existent, again, with an 11.7% building coverage. It's well within the limits. So for those reasons, the Sorbos respectfully request that this board grant a special permit under 164-44 criteria. And we would be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Landreth. Michael, you want to start? You have any questions?
I'm a little bit confused. The existing garage is going to be retained as is. You say that there's no water servicing that garage. Is there a bedroom on the second floor?
No,
Then
no.
I'm confused as to where the fifth bedroom is.
Oh, it's up above on the new garage.
New garage.
Yeah, the garage, there's a proposed slab as shown on that plan.
So I'll interpret, that's where the garage, the
That's,
new garage.
that's where the new garage is, yeah.
So that the old garage is just remains as an outbuilding.
Yes, exactly. And there's that space above the proposed garage is classified as a bedroom, was classified as a bedroom by the health department, and indeed, with 4 boys, it's likely to be used as a bedroom somewhere along the line. There's 4 bedrooms, you know, usual bedrooms in the house itself.
All right. I don't have any other questions, sir.
Matthew?
I don't have any other questions.
Greg?
Yeah, I had a question. Where did you take the measurement of the new structure to the existing garage? I don't see it on my C1.
Oh, I didn't, I scaled it. Here's an inch, it's 1 foot, it equals 20, so I simply scaled it. I could have called Coastal to do that, but
Are you taking it from the proposed patio?
no, I took it to the proposed new
Probably went from here to
garage.
here.
Yeah,
But not the deck?
not the deck, no. My understanding is it goes, does it go to deck to?
It's about 19 feet from the proposed deck on
Okay.
the back of the new garage.
I stand corrected then.
Okay.
Somebody did pay attention to that 19 feet after all.
That's the only question I had.
Bill?
In your presentation, Attorney Landis, you mentioned the fact that a covered walkway, and I guess I need to
It's,
bring that up to my,
Yeah, it's easier, and I certainly, if I wanted
it's
to,
actually in the building plans?
yes. There's a breezeway between the new garage,
Oh, the new garage, okay.
yeah,
That's all I-
75-foot square foot,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
No, that's all. Okay. And the old deck is gone.
And the old deck is gone.
Fine, thank you.
That's it?
That's it?
Beth?
On the new plan, it shows a carriage house. Is that the new garage, or is that the old garage?
I believe that's the
The new
new
garage.
garage, is it not?
New garage referred to.
Okay, so the old garage is pretty much gonna stay the way it is in the photos?
Exactly.
Okay. And just because they've been a mistake before, if you put these two on top of each other, you don't get the right angles. So I don't know if these were,
Well,
these
there
two
is,
sketches here.
there is a comparison to on the proposed conditions, that it shows you the old location of the house,
Yep.
so
Yeah,
you can piece that together. But no, I'm sorry that I ever
Just
put
cut
those
paste.
into
No,
public
okay.
circulation.
No, I just was curious.
I
Are they
did-
tearing down the original house?
It's
or-
gone now, yes.
Okay,
It's
then that
gone.
makes sense. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
No questions.
Okay, is it your position that 164-3 has nothing to do with this application?
That's my position, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Brian, can I ask you, do you agree with that?
Yeah, so this came in, if it wasn't for lot coverage, this wouldn't be in front of you, because I think the new structure meets all the dimensional requirements and it's on the buildable lot.
So you don't think there's any question as to whether or not this is a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot at the present time?
I think because of the saving clause, which grandfathers this, that it's a conforming structure, based on the 164-22, I think it's 3, because the lot was created before that date. It has the minimum frontage and everything there that's required of that modification, that it's conforming.
And what about the structure?
The structure, as it's been explained to me, except for the lot coverage, best of my knowledge, it meets the height requirements and all the other the 25-foot setbacks, and based on what I've been told, is the height of the existing structure, the garage in question, is height of the structure, the separation distance there equals the height of the structure. So where there's no habitable space in that seems to conform as well. We're not changing the fact that it's setback between that and the lot line. So that's not even being touched.
And how do you determine whether space which is described as a studio is non-habitable?
I'm assuming, I'm going based on Mr. Landra's testimony here today. I haven't physically gone out and looked at it. What he's told me is it's unfinished space throughout.
Well, don't rely upon me. I would rely upon people who have knowledge, physical knowledge of it, because I didn't go inside the structure. Mr. Sorbo?
Sorbo?
The only thing we have in the structure is surfboards and a grill and beach chairs, and the beach car goes in there in the wintertime. There's that's the garage piece. There's this piece that I think the word studio came from the previous owner, who's, I believe his wife, now deceased, would paint in that side. So that may have been a name that became the studio, but it's completely unfinished and kind of gross up top with bugs and whatnot. So there's not anything going on up there. On the side of the garage, you can walk in the door. That's a little nicer, but we only have beach towels and things like that there. No one, you would know, really wouldn't want to be out there a lot. I can tell you right now, we've got 4 boys, they were 5 years old, the youngest was 5 years old, and those guys like to do things like camp out and stuff, and not one of them ever said to me, hey, I want to sleep out in the house out there. In the 11 year or 10 years I've owned the home, no one thought that was kind of be kind of a cool thing to do as a young boy.
Do you have any present intention of converting that into habitable space?
No.
Okay. All right, that wraps up the questions. We'll hear public comments. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard in support of the application? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard in opposition to the application? We have only one letter in the file, and that comes from one of the Claps who lives at 55 Countryside Drive. It says, Sorbo Property, Countryside Drive, to the zoning board. The Claps at 55 Countryside Drive have no problem with the building plan for the Sorbo property. Hearing is 7/9, and it's signed on behalf of one of the Claps. And that's the only comment in the file. Because there is no adverse comment, Mr. Landris?
I waive but rebuttal, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Okay. Then we'll begin with our discussions. We'll start with you, Ralph.
I think it's pretty, straightforward. I have no problems.
Okay. Beth?
No problem?
Bill?
No, I'd be in favor of the special permit.
Greg?
Given that there's no existing habitable plans for habitable space in that garage as stated by the owner, I don't have a problem with the application.
Matthew?
I'm in support of the application for the lot coverage.
And Michael?
I have no comment. I'm concerned that the garage is not being touched. Perhaps a condition could be imposed that no part of it be used for habitable purposes, and whether or not it was constructed in ignorance or defiance doesn't make any difference anymore. But the fact of the matter is, it really has no bearing, in my opinion, upon the rest of the application in front of the board tonight.
And I'm generally in favor of the application. Once you take away the need to show that it's a legally pre-existing structure under 164.3, then legally pre-existing doesn't become a concern of mine. And I also would impose on a condition in any decision on the garage, the existing garage, being not used for habitable space at all and kept as an accessory building. So let me see if we can work this out with the,
Would that be agreeable?
Well, absolutely. That's the representation that we made too, there's no habitable space. I think that's appropriate. And indeed, if it's contained in the decision, it's maybe a word to the wise with regard to builders and stuff. Not to pick on builders, but.
There you go, Robert.
all right, I'm going to propose a findings motion. Based upon the application, including the plan showing existing site conditions dated June 20, 2008, the plan showing proposed replacement dwelling certified as of April 21, 2011, both prepared by Coastal Engineering Company, Inc., and respectively marked C1.2.1 and C2.1.1, and the construction drawings permit set dated April 8, 2011, prepared by D. Michael Collins Architects, marked A-1.0 through through A.1.2, and A-2.1 through A-2.2. I move that the board adopt the following findings of fact. The subject property known as 2 Highview Lane, shown as parcel 27 on Orleans map 37, is in a residential district, groundwater protection district number 4. And let me just stop, and anytime you want to interrupt, Mr. Landreth, feel
Yes,
free
sir.
to do that. 2, the pre-existing structure consisted of a single-family residence attached by a deck to a 1.5-story garage. 3, the lot consists of 38,000 square feet of buildable upland. 4, the pre-existing structure was built in 1979. 5, the pre-existing structure has been demolished except for the building constituting the garage. Yeah,
Instead of constituting garage, why don't you say designated as studio garage? Only because there isn't a garage already in existence on the new plans.
the designated studio garage.
Yeah.
Then we should change the earlier one too, as referring to it as 1.5-story designated studio garage. Six, the replacement structure will consist of a single-family residence together with the existing designated studio and together with the existing studio, designated studio garage. Will increase the lot coverage to 4,528 square feet, which constitutes 11.7% of the buildable upland. 7, the replacement structure will not create any new dimensional nonconformity. 8, the site is suitable and adequate for the proposed replacement because the proposed structure is consistent with the neighborhood setting. 9, the proposed replacement will have no impact on traffic flow or safety. 10, the proposed replacement will have no negative impact on the visual character of the neighborhood. 11, the proposed replacement will have no negative impact on the method of sewage disposal, source of water, drainage, or water resources. 12, utilities and public services will be unaffected by the proposed replacement. 13, noise and litter will not be increased after the construction is completed. 13, the designated studio garage will not be used for any, or is not intended to be used for any human habitation. And 14, the proposed replacement will not be detrimental to the established and future character of the neighborhood and will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the application?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Based upon the findings of fact, I move that the board grant a special permit pursuant to section 164A of the zoning board, of the zoning bylaw rather, to run with the land for construction of a replacement single-family residence in conformity with the construction drawings permit set dated April 18, 2011, prepared by D. Michael Collins Architects, and upon the condition that the existing designated studio garage not be used for human habitation. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Mr. Collins, you want, these could be helpful, huh?
Yeah. You're gonna throw
them
them
away,
away, we will
No.
definitely.
What are the little 4 triangles with 1, 2, 3, 4 on the house plans?
Those are keys to use for interior elevation.
Oh, okay.
So, first elevation, second elevation, third elevation.
Okay, I've never seen those before, thank you.
I thought some you were here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your service.
Do you? You need to get yourself a nice 360-degree lens.
That's what my secretary said when she pinned these together. Talking to her.
Well, they have those disposable
I
panoramic
know, I
cam.
want you to feel
cameras.
sorry for me.
Make it look hard, huh?
Yeah.
All right, the next order of business, we have minutes from the April 20 hearing. Is there any comment on the proposed minutes?
I have to spell Beth's name right.
Pardon me?
I have to spell Beth's name right.
Miss McCarthy a couple of places. It's McCarthy. Bye, Brian.
Is that it?
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Congratulations, whoever deserves it when you get done.
That's the only comment on the minutes?
That I've heard. Anybody
Okay.
else?
So I move then that the minutes be approved as submitted with a change in the spelling of Beth's name. All in favor? Unanimously approved. That brings us to the election, and we'll start with the easy one first. We've had a forthcoming volunteer for the position of clerk, that's Beth McCartney. I've heard from no one else seeking that position. Is there any other nomination? I then move that Beth be elected to the position of clerk for the next session. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a second?
Unanimously approved.
I'm sorry, was there a second? Like,
Going too fast.
get excited.
Next, we have vice chairman, and Matthew Cole has offered to take over that position. And is there any other nomination for that position? With that, I nominate, or I move that Matthew Cole be elected vice chairman for the next session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved. The chairman remains a mystery. Is there anyone who wishes to propose someone to succeed me as chairman or to volunteer as chairman?
I don't think you're replaceable.
Well, then the position will have to remain vacant until the next session, and we'll try again. Any other business for the night? Then I move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second. Oh,
Wow, that was a tough vote.
I didn't realize that you were waiting for some.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So ends the session.